This video was recorded in front of a live virtual audience. Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Today we're going to be talking Chanel. We're going to have a wonderful Chaneloholics talk and chat today again with my wonderful friend Laura. But before we get to it, may I ask you, yes, very ghetto, we're going to ask you to subscribe to the Fashion Bunker. If you haven't already, thumb up this video. You're going to have a lot of reasons to thumb it up because we're going to talk about a lot of really fun topics today. Also, you can push the join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today and gain access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon, superdacob all spelled together. Also gain access to extra perks. Thank you so much to all the members and patrons who have already pledged. And thank you to my live co-chatters in the chat section because yes, this video is being filmed live in front of a virtual studio audience. And drum rolls, please. Everybody say welcome to my dear friend Laura, aka TheCCspy on Instagram. Whoop whoop.
Hello, how are you?
Let me blend you in. Hello, Laura. Ooh, we have a new picture today.
Let's see the picture.
Okay, today we got Laura wearing, you know what, this kind, it's orange, right? It's like an orangey warm jacket.
Yeah, yes, it's an orangey red.
It's giving me 90s life, 90s Chanel life. And of course, right. We have the Carole Bouquet Chanel No. 5 bracelet from the ad.
That's right as well.
And then we got a lippy, Chanel lippy, and we got Chanel earrings. Am I correct? I can't see that far.
Yeah, it's all vintage. The jacket is early 90s, the bracelet I think is 80s, and so are the earrings.
You guys, this is Laura. What can I tell you? Today we have a new episode of Chaneloholics, and the topic of today is why are we addicted to Chanel bags? We could also say bags in general, but why are we addicted to Chanel bags? This is the topic we're going to try to dissect as the geeky Chaneloholic nerds that we are today. Before we get to it, Laura, I know I said already where we can find you on Instagram, but tell us, where can we find you on social media so people can follow you?
Yeah, I am the CCspy on Instagram. And that's the only platform that I'm using for now. For now.
So that is TheCCspy on Instagram. Go follow her there and enjoy. You can also follow me on Instagram if you want. superdacob all spelled together, but also Coco Chanel is in my house, all spelled together, my Chanel collection, and then Coco Chanel Privé, dedicated to Chanel's life. Okay, Laura. Now, I know I told you, like, hey, let's talk about, like, why are we addicted to Chanel? And then we were discussing this. I mean, I told you, like, isn't this an interesting kind of topic maybe to talk about in the live? And then you said you had some time to think about it. And you said, oh, this is actually quite a deep topic. So is there something you already kind of have set in your mind that you want to say about, like, the reasons why we are addicted?
When you asked me the question, as I said, I think it's a very deep question. And for us, it's particularly about Chanel. But I think we have been, as a society, trained to desire certain items that we don't really need. Let's be honest. We don't really need a Chanel handbag. But it was discovered that people could be persuaded to behave irrationally if we link a product to their desires and feelings. So obviously we are very emotionally attached to our Chanel purchases at a very deep level. Because these objects that we buy, for us from Chanel and for other people, it might be different brands or different items. I think they become symbols of how we want to be seen by others. And I think that's why your question is very deep, because it's also making me think, how do I want to be seen? What is it that I want to show? How do I want to be perceived? And that's what I've been thinking about all day. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. This was very clear statement. Sorry, I have a box behind me here. So you think that the question is deeper because in some way, shape, or form, why are we addicted to Chanel bags, Chanel in our case, is also a reflection not just about the ego, like why do I think that I'm addicted to it, but it's more about a reflection towards society, like what does, in this case, maybe Chanel brand marketing, how does their manipulation work in terms of making me feel that need?
What does work for us in particular? For what is it that I want to show when I carry or dress in a Chanel bag, or when I dressed with a Chanel jacket? It's making us feel a certain way. I mean, when they devised this marketing, which is commonplace today, but there was a point when people only bought things that they needed because they were functional. So they were promoted on functional terms. We moved from that to buy because we feel better if we buy that particular bag or jacket or shoes or whatever it might be. So we have an emotional connect with these items. So I've been trying to think all day. I think in your case it's quite clear why you like Chanel so much. There's a question of the history. There's lots of things that you talk about in your videos that make it clear. But I've been thinking all day, what is it for me? What am I trying to show or to hide, perhaps?
Oh, good. That's a good one, Laura. To hide.
Yes. So, our desire for these things comes from such a deep, hidden place that it overshadows the need sometimes. We don't buy the bag just because it's functional or because we need it, because we could very well grab anything, any carrier, and put the stuff inside, and it's a functional bag. But we want that Chanel bag. And I think as well, like we said before when we've been talking, is the experience associated with the item. We go to the boutique, we get a particular treatment, and then every time or even if you buy it remotely, you have a certain relationship with the SA. And then every time you use your item, you sort of relive that experience. You feel special because you were able to find that item, and especially if it's a bag that is difficult to find.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about myself, because for me, I don't know. I mean, the sales associate experience, it's as much as I love working with my sales associates, I work with several ones depending on which city I'm in and stuff like that. But I don't really connect my purchase experience to the memory. I don't connect the bag that I get to the memory of the purchase experience, because most of the time, truth be told, in my case, it's always traumatic, because you always don't know if you're going to get the piece. And then you're always, and mind you guys, I'm not talking just about the unicorns, the sought after influencer pieces from every season. I'm talking also about, here, I can show you guys this pouch here. Okay. This is a couple of years old. It's the love of my life. I am obsessed with this 255 pouch, and it's been in the boutiques. It hasn't sold out. And I asked my sales associate, by accident, she showed me they had one, but it had a flaw. She said, I could order you another one. I was like, really? I thought that this thing was like not even, it's been like 2 years, and I live for this. And then waiting for it to arrive, whether or not the other boutique is going to accept the transfer. Like, this is all traumatic for me. And then knowing that the one that they had in the boutique had a stitch loose. classic for Chanel. I was like, you know, it was just like cut. It was like poking out. The thread was poking out. And I'm like, she's like, yeah, sorry, we can't sell this. Obviously, we're going to send it back. We're going to get you another one. I'm like, oh gosh, you know, then this typical drama that follows every single Chanel purchase. There's drama. There's so much drama connected to Chanel that I'm just so used to it by now that I just kind of take it for, yeah, okay. I just got to be very cautious at the thing that the production that it's good, that there's no flaws, or that there are flaws that I can accept and tolerate, you know? So that already is traumatic. So I just want to forget that. When I come home, I just want to love my piece for what it is. But here's the twist. When you were talking about the obsession or the addiction, because this segment or this kind of ongoing series that Laura and I are doing is called Confessions of a CHANELOHOLIC. So we are kind of addicted. We admit it. But to me, it's not a reflection. Being addicted to these bags is not what I want to convey or how I think I portray myself when I'm outside on the street and what I want to show to the world in terms of, oh, look, I'm wearing Chanel. You know, I prefer this lock, which if you know, you know. Otherwise, you don't even know it's Chanel. So I love the double C. Don't get me wrong. I love my double C, but just the 255 is in my heart. And this is the twist, what I was hinting at. Ultimately, I kind of love these at home for myself. They totally have no purpose because I enjoy this bag, not to carry stuff with it. Like literally, that's why I was so happy that I found the 255 without a chain, finally, because I can squish it and hold it like a pillow. This is like a toy for a grown-up person. Okay, this is as crazy as it sounds. I still also love my toys. I love my He-Man, my, you know, Baby Yodas, my Chucky and all that stuff. But this to me is like, okay, I enjoy it in the privacy of just like I wear perfumes for myself, not for others. I don't wear a perfume because I want somebody on the street to tell me, ooh, what perfume are you wearing that smells so good on you? Usually when somebody stops me on the street and says, what perfume are you wearing? Oh, the hell am I going to tell you? This is too intimate. We don't know each other, boo. No. And usually, and I know this is really bad, but like if I feel approached aggressively by somebody like, oh, I love your perfume, what is it? I'm not going to tell them the truth. I'm going to tell them, oh, it's Naomi Campbell or something from, you know, from a drugstore. Because I just don't want to. It's too intimate. And the same for my bags. In fact, a lot of times, just because I don't want it to be too visible, when I do wear a Chanel bag out and about, even if it's a 255, I flip it towards me. Usually this is how you see me walking on the street. You're just going to see this. You ain't even going to see this. That's how intimate it is for me. So I don't have, personally, this obsession that I have with Chanel does not project onto others. It is something so intimate for me. But I've been trying to analyze this question as well. Why am I addicted to it? And there's this duality that I always say. There's the woman Chanel that I love. And then there's the brand Chanel of today, which has nothing to do with the woman Chanel. These are two different worlds. So seldomly do the two worlds kind of intersect. She invented the 255. So this is kind of still connected to her. So in some way, shape, or form, every 255 iteration has kind of a thread that goes straight to Coco. But other products, it's Chanel, the brand, that me in my case, I associate usually to Karl Lagerfeld's late 80s, early 90s to mid 90s era. So to me, Chanel, the brand, what I'm addicted to is everything that has that 90s vibe. So for example, these glasses that you see me wear from time to time, these have been manufactured maybe just a year or 2 years ago, but it's because of this particular huge, chunky, golden, protruding 90s style and roundedness of it. This to me screams Chanel, the brand, but Chanel, the brand being for me, in my mind, a very specific 90s style of Chanel that was invented by Karl Lagerfeld. And so there's this duality. My obsession is dedicated to Coco and everything that is 255 or Byzantine related, more filigrane, stripped down, more dry, stuff that usually when I pieces that I love of today that Virginie Viard makes that are very close to Chanel's own vision of Coco, people usually don't like those pieces because they say, oh, this is so boring, this is so meh. I'm like, no, this is the genius. Yeah. This is Coco. She would have done it that simple. She strips stuff down. Simpler, 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 which is the opposite of Carl. Carl was pompous. Carl was all about add more, add more, add more. He had an aseptic vision. Sometimes he could strip stuff down as well. But let's face it, it's with Carl that we got the haute couture with 1001 embroidery. You know, Coco, her haute couture was much more simplified. He can give you a simple silhouette from a distance, but when you look close at it, there's 1,000,001 beaded little bit there that makes it just so pompous and opulent, at times too much for my taste. But Chanel, the brand, to me, the addiction that I have for it is the pop cultural aspect of the 90s of Chanel that makes me feel like I live in a Barbie world, like a bubblegum world, because everything about Chanel is round. The double C's, it's a round, organic-looking logo. They're camellias. They're very stylized. They're so round, especially their 90s camellias. They look like beautifully designed without any sharp edge or corner, rounded, bubbly creations. Their chains are all rounded. They have no edgy corners. The way that the Timeless Classic bag was designed, it doesn't have edgy corners, you guys. The Timeless Classic, or the double flap, is rounded on every corner. There is no sharp edge. It's always nicely rounded, soft, organic. It's inviting. The padded quilting, the matelassé quilting, it's stuffed to a point where it's saturated. It's like a ripe peach. And this is where I developed my desire for it. And to a certain extent, I know this sounds like a bit cuckoo, like if we, you cannot fetishize humans. The definition of fetish, you can only fetishize inanimate objects, things that are not alive. And Chanel bags and objects from the 90s, this rounded, organic, opulent, ripe, peachy, ripe aesthetic of these pieces, they have a very sexual, fetishistic connotation to me because they feel so ripe. It's like observing a Christian from the more Italian Catholic vision, a pre-Renaissance Baroque portrayal of the Madonna with Jesus. She's ripe, chubby cheeks, rosy cheeks. Baby Jesus is a chubby little nugget. Jesus holds her nipple or something, and the breasts are voluptuous and rounded. And then if we compare that to the more Protestant version, Northern Europe, if we go more north, to Germany, or even more northern than that, you get to see the more Protestant version of portrayal of the Madonna. She's this skinny creature that hasn't been fed properly. There are no breasts. It's just two nipples. Baby Jesus is starving as well. There's this kind of like vision of Christianity that is more like, strip yourself away from the voluptuousness, strip yourself away from all of the desires, and just die of boredom, basically. Different moral, as opposed to that Catholic decadent opulence. And to me, in many ways, the Karl Lagerfeld era is that Catholic chubby Madonna with the chubby nugget Jesus, as opposed to Chanel's vision of the Chanel brand, Coco Chanel's vision, which is more the Protestant vision. She was raised by these nuns, stripped of all desires, wearing always one uniform, wearing always one color. She would always say, women hide in the color beige. In the animal kingdom, it's the men that are opulent, the lion, the peacock with all those feathers. It's the male that is always like, the woman, the female animal is always toned down, and the elegance and the power of the female, that's what Coco always said, was in stripping it down to the core. And she would often observe the animal kingdom to get inspired by the female animal kingdom, to get inspired for her creation. So toning stuff down, she always said, is a mirroring of what happens in nature with animals, for example, where the female animals are always more toned down than the males. And same applies to her bag. You guys, it doesn't get more stripped down than this. A 255 is so essential that it's like, if it gets any more minimal than this, it doesn't exist. And on the other hand, Carl managed to Catholicize Chanel to that opulent version, that decadent, more like the city of Vatican where the Pope is eating a lot version of Chanel. So he takes the 255, rounds it up, gives it that voluptuous curviness by delivering the new version of the 255, which is the timeless classic, rounded, puffy, padded, supple, that lambskin leather from the 80s and 90s. Your mouth starts watering when you see it. It really does. My mouth doesn't water when I see the 255. It's this de-stressed, dried out calfskin leather. But it's not puffy. It's a flat puff. This is like the Chanel version of the luxury is there because you know it's there, but not because you're kind of showing off that bubblegummy poppy opulence. And I am so fascinated, and this is what I've been analyzing the whole day. I'm so fascinated by this duality, and I think my addiction for Chanel bags comes from this constantly being torn between this pop vision of Chanel and this kind of more Southern European Catholic vision of Chanel / Karl Lagerfeld, as opposed to the more Protestant Northern European version of Chanel, which is Coco's own vision. And the fact that they both coexist within the same brand and are constantly both of them being played out. No other brand does that, you guys. And nobody ever talks about this. So you're welcome. Here you are at the Fashion Bunker. We talk about this. This is why I think my obsession more than addiction comes with it. I'm obsessed with this constant duality. It irritates me because it's a friction. It's a constant friction between these two aesthetics, but somehow they so masterfully blend into one another. And that keeps me guessing, and it keeps me questioning how do these puzzle pieces fit in? They're so different from one another, and yet they speak a similar language. In fact, they're both religions, but they're kind of a different aesthetical approach to the religion being the religion of Chanel in this case. Amen. And this is why I'm obsessed with it, because I can never quite understand it fully. Now, the addiction comes with, I think, on top of all of that I've just mentioned now, me being addicted to it and always wanting more, is that wanting to own that duality. Because I think I carry that duality within me, the masculine and the feminine, the being all, the kitsch, opulent, and then I also have those days when I just want to dress in somber black with nothing else on top. I am torn as well. My own personality is that way. And so my addiction to these bags is every time I discover a slight nuance and different variation of the cut, trim, color, or material, I almost feel like I discovered a new facet of myself. And hence I need that bag, because I think that bag is a further key to coming closer to understanding myself. This is insane, I know, but these are confessions of Chaneloholics. So there you have my confession.
I was nodding all along. I couldn't be more in agreement with you. I feel exactly the same. I love that duality. I think there's a lot of power sometimes in dressing with less, in having that, in hiding in that beige color, and other times having access to Carl's more opulent, like you said, designs, because I'm not the same person all the time. Sometimes I love to dress in total black. Other times I like to dress, in a jacket like this from the 90s, and then the Egyptian one that I was very lucky to find. And I can express different facets of myself and be creative. And I think that's also something that the fashion and the evolution of these brands has allowed us to do, which is express our creativity through what we wear, in my case. But, like I said, I've been thinking all day about this. why does it have to be Chanel? Why couldn't it be anything else but Chanel? And I think that for me in particular, it goes back to those memories that I have when I was a child, looking at magazines with my sister, and it seems so unattainable. Those models on the catwalk, so they look so elegant, so sophisticated. And I think for me, it feels like home. Like I said before, it feels right. When I carry the bag, when I put the clothes on, it feels that is the truer version of myself. Obviously, adding my own personality to the outfits. I don't know if you see my Instagram, you know that I like mixing.
Yes, of course.
With a, I don't know, Cure t-shirt or a Sisters of Mercy t-shirt or Susie and the Banshees, and bring my own personality into what I'm wearing. But I think it allows me to show the truer version of myself. I also found it very interesting how you said that you carry the bag the other way around and you have a very intimate relationship with your items. And I've been reading today, and he said that men have a different relationship with the objects that they buy, not necessarily to show off, whereas women prefer... it's more about the reaction. It's not just that they buy the item because it makes them feel good, but because people's reaction to having the item makes them feel good. I thought that was very interesting. In my case, if I have to be 100% honest, and if I want to be candid, I could say that, yes, sometimes I do get some satisfaction from people being surprised that I managed to get a bag that was impossible to find. But there's another part of me that is a lot deeper. And like I said, Chanel allows me to be the truer, best version of myself. Yeah,
you always say that to me. I know you repeat that often. Like you're very specific about that particular point. Yeah, I'm not buying it to show off, or because even when I buy the clothes, I like wearing their jeans, and their jeans don't scream Chanel necessarily. Yeah. Right.
I don't have those that denim with all the logos everywhere. It's just a pair of blue jeans, and I just purchased a pair of black ones with the lion buttons. But it's a case of if you know, you know. Yeah. And I wear it because I truly love it, and it feels great, and it's something that I've been looking for a long time because of the cut and whatever, but not necessarily to show off what I'm wearing. It's something that represents me in the best possible way. But you got me thinking all day about this, seriously. And it's such
but I have a question. I was kind of interested when you said, you mentioned something about being a child and going through fashion magazines. So since you were a kid, you said you were attracted. But when you were going through the fashion magazines, was Chanel the brand that spoke to you most as a kid in those fashion magazines, or just in general, all fashion attracted you?
No, it was in particular Chanel. I remember, I need to get my catwalk book. There was a collection, and it was all black and white, monochrome from the 80s. It was mainly black and white. I remember the suits that were white with a black sort of edge. I remember the pictures that I saw, and it was so striking. And I remember just looking at that and understanding at that very young age that was elegance. And style.
I know what you mean. Yeah, similar happened to me. Yeah.
My sister's 10 years older than me, so she would have had the magazine, and then we would have been looking at that. And to put it into the context of growing up in Argentina, during a dictatorship, these boutiques didn't exist for us. It wasn't something that I could go into town and walk past Chanel. but there were a lot of Chanel-inspired items. And then growing up and eventually being able to have access to these things, it is magical. But yeah, it's, the context of the time and what we were going through as a country, and how is these things, again, like you said, that I was brought up as well in a convent school. It was a school that I went to. I didn't board at the school, but the nuns had a convent in there. Okay, and then it was very stark, very. The uniforms were grey. You know, they were always dressed in grey. Everything was very minimal. Everything was about needing. Everything was about giving away what you didn't need to others. And the country as a whole, again, it was about not showing what you had. It was very living under a curfew. There wasn't a lot of freedom. So then looking at those magazines and seeing, and there were Chaos collections, obviously, and seeing the opulence and the simplicity at the same time in some models, like you said, some of the outfits were simpler, some others were more opulent. It was just being transported to a different world, a world that did not exist for us for a very long time. I think like other countries, and in America, you had access to even shopping malls that we didn't have for a very, very long time, that sort of freedom to spend at that level. So for me, that memory of being transported to that magical, completely different world that existed in some fashion fantasy land, and now being able to walk into a boutique and having that bag it is a dream come true. It really is a dream come true for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like my sister, she used to love Chanel as well, lives through me a little bit, and my mom would have loved to have seen the things that I have nowadays, because my mom was all about having class and being elegant, and less is more, and always remember to take something off before you walk out of the door, like Coco used to say. So I think it runs very, very deep for me. It runs very deep. Wow, that was I shared a lot there.
I mean, it's beautiful. Oh, we just got a new subscriber. Krista, thank you so much for subscribing. One point that you said stuck out to me when you said, oh, we didn't have the freedoms in Argentina like you had in America, like going to the mall and shopping. Consumer society, though, you see, the way I perceived it in the Occidental world, or the Western world, I find those shopping malls and the consumer society to be a prison. I find that to be, you know what I mean? Like once you have that, once you have the strength and the mental capacity to analyze what is really behind the construct of consuming, you realize that that is also absence of freedom. Having that freedom to choose where to buy and shop and spend a whole day at the mall is a prison. And it's a mental construct that you're put into by brand marketing to make you feel like you got to belong to a group, because human beings are social animals. We need, even though you're talking to
a group,
even though you're talking to a person who I can live my life in a cave, give me enough food and electricity and I'm good to go. I'm the most hermit type of person ever. Unfortunately, I should be a bit more sociable. I am on social media, but in real life, I'm quite shy. But anyway, so, but this is coming from me, right? But anyway, human beings are social animals. So they need this feel to belong. And then if brand marketing is clever enough, it's going to make you feel like in order to belong, you got to spend the days at the mall with your friends, and then there's this whole concept of consumerism. Now, I'm the first victim of it. I love to shop. I love to buy things. It just makes me super happy. In that moment, however, that high of having purchased something new it withers away quite soon. Once you've come home, you've opened it, and then you're like, okay, so what am I going to buy next? But the twist here with me and Chanel is that electricity that I feel when I get something new, it never ends with Chanel. Every single time. Here, you're on this. Let me just take this delicately so you don't fall off the microphone. I built a little tower of Chanel boxes for Laura to put the iPad close to the microphone. So Laura is actually now sitting on a throne of Chanel boxes. So, like, for example, here, right? Whenever I open this little thing, no matter what it is, okay, there you go. I'm already happy. So I have my little métier d'art earring, right? I have two of them, but I only wear one usually because I like the asymmetry. So this is a scarab, golden scarab, Métier d'Art 2019, Chanel earring, designed by Carl, produced by Gousson, amazing. Every single time, now I've unboxed this in 2019. I wear it a lot. Every time I look at it, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I have this. I'm going to put it on right now. It just makes me so happy. Every single time. It doesn't fade. Unlike with most other things, which we're going to get to now, but what I want to say is this. I've also learned with time, here's another twist, why am I so obsessed with Chanel? Chanel has also taught me to buy less of other things. Focus more on the few things. And this is also Vivienne Westwood teaches us, choose well, buy less, choose well, make it last. The things that really speak to my heart, I don't lose love for them. I don't lose enthusiasm for them. Even years and years and years after I've purchased them, they still make my heart skip a beat when I see them, just like the day I unboxed them. And once I've reached that sort of nirvana and that sort of happiness, I just don't need to buy anything anymore, anything else, because I know where my happiness is. And of course, my happiness isn't just in a product. My happiness is within me. We're going to go the Buddhist Zen. Yes, you can only have happiness from within you. Leave that crap to the Buddhists. I'm talking about consumerism and Chanel right now. In terms of consuming something, let's not beat around the bush. Yes, of course, where happiness is within and blah, blah, blah. Yes, it is. But fine. The happiness
helps a lot.
Happiness is within, but happiness likes to accessorize with Chanel. That's how I say it.
Exactly.
And so, and I'm content. I'm fulfilled. I remember when I was a student and I had no money, like most students have no money, and well, what are you going to do? You can't afford Chanel, so you go, secondhand, which I still love. You can hunt. I found some amazing luxury pieces that really speak to me as well. Secondhand, rare, but when it happens, you strike gold. But usually, what are you going to do? You got to wear some clothes. You can't walk naked through the city. So, you end up getting the fast fashion stuff, the H&Ms, the Mangos, the Zaras, the this and the that's, because, well, you're young and you can't afford the more sustainability is not a word in fashion, but as we know, fashion likes to throw that word around. But it's hard to afford a shirt for $2,000 if you don't have the $2,000. So you end up buying the $10 shirt at H&M because that's what you can afford. And I understand it. Like, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. But once you start being able to afford it, when you get your first job, you're out of school, you start working, you also learn more, you become more wise. Then you start also realizing, well, maybe I don't need 10 shirts for $10 each. Maybe I just need 2 or just 1. And I rotate the 2 that I have because I've spent more money on them. But at least when I wash them 50 times, they're still going to look good. You wash an H&M shirt 3 times, it kind of starts falling apart. Not all of them. If you're lucky, you can get relatively good quality cotton at H&M as well. But still, the conditions under which it was produced and the labor that went into it and the unfair payment and all that kind of injustice and amoral actions going on behind the scenes that go with that shirt from H&M, you're just appalled. You don't want to have anything to do with it. So with Chanel, I have the feeling it gratifies me in many ways, not just the aesthetics of it, the beauty of it, the heritage of it, the history of it, the story of it, the production of it, but also the moral, I guess, this is something very typical for 2021, but morally it makes you feel a little bit less bad to, because you think, well, it's made in Europe. This earring was made in France. They say Goussin made it in their ateliers in Paris. Do we believe it? Well, you either believe it or you don't, but that's what Chanel tells you. And then you feel, well, okay, their workers were paid fairly. There was no minimum wage. These are like artisans that are professional in doing this. Like this is, you feel like you're also contributing to supporting local economy, but you're also contributing to supporting an art form that would otherwise die out. Because if we only had fast fashion labels out there, you best believe that the people that know how to hammer these things, make them properly, put the gold over them, produce them, these people would die out, because there would be no new generation of these artisans growing up, because there would be nobody to hire them, and there would be nobody to pay for their products, because everybody would be used to paying $5 for a brooch instead of, $300 for a brooch, because people are going to start being rewired in their heads thinking, 300, I could get a brooch for $10. I'm not going to spend 300. Are you crazy? Yeah, but you're not just spending you're not just spending it for you. It's not just like this egotistical way of thinking, the cheaper the better, because I don't want to spend a lot of money. Yeah, but that money, if we are to believe that people that are making these products are paid fairly, that the sourcing of the raw materials has been sourced fairly, that everything, everything has been done morally just, then it's normal that this piece costs more, because A, it wasn't mass produced. So you can't how are you going to get any profit margins? If you only produce 300 of them worldwide instead of 3 million worldwide, then you got to keep the costs higher, because otherwise you're losing so much on margins, your business is going to fail, and you got to pay the workers. So I gladly, whenever I can afford to, I support that. And ultimately, yes, it is true what Laura said before, also that experience of purchasing with your sales assistant and having that experience. If you're lucky enough to have a good sales assistant and have a wonderful experience in the boutiques, and you always work with that one person in particular, you also know that actually you're helping them out too. Yes, they have a really good salary, but every time you purchase something with them, they get commission. They get extra bonuses. They also profit from it. So you are, in a way, contributing to an economy that is not just subsidizing luxury in terms of that one CEO sitting at the top of the food chain in the luxury brand, but you are also subsidizing hundreds of thousands of workers that are connected to that one product. Because to make this earring or to make this bag, it's not just one person involved, you guys. 20, 30, 40 people are involved, from the marketing to the production to the sourcing of the materials to managing the machines that are doing it to packaging it, sending it over. Somebody who gets it in the boutique, somebody's unboxing it in the boutique, somebody's merchandising it in the boutique, a sales associate is selling it to you in the boutique. There's a cashier at the cash register who has to cash it in for you. All these people have salaries. And it is local economy because they are working in your local area where you are living and buying. So, to me, thanks to that duality of aesthetics of Chanel, because it began when I was very young, when I didn't have the money to afford it, I could just observe the aesthetics and be attracted to the aesthetics. There it began, the seed was planted, and then once I could afford it, I started learning about the durability of these pieces through time and the whole moral behind it, where the materials come from, where the things are produced, what it's truly worth, not just on a monetary level, but also on a moral level. And that duality of aesthetics between, as we said, the Protestant and the Catholic aesthetics mixed with this local economy context really makes me feel like I'm okay spending the money for Chanel pieces. However, within reason, and this is why I made that video, you could check it out on my channel as well, a video that I said why I don't buy Chanel bags anymore. Of course I'm going to buy still Chanel bags. I just got this one a short while ago. But again, this is the point, I'm not going to buy timeless classics anymore. Because those have outpriced themselves out of the ballpark. There's a limit to everything. This one is still priced very fairly, okay, the one that I just showed you. but Chanel also has made some decisions in the past years to push exorbitantly high certain prices for certain products that they have, to me, greed has taken over. So, in fact, when I think to myself, well, yeah, sure, I could put together somehow the money to drop 8K on a bag, but I just don't want to anymore because now Chanel has morally crossed over. It's a moral issue. They've crossed for me morally that line where I'm like, this ain't fair no more. You're just greedy. Yeah, you want to limit the amount of people buying these bags because you want to keep them collectible. Well, how about this, Chanel? Don't raise your prices to a point where it's obvious what you're doing. Keep the prices relatively fair, but produce less. You don't need to produce 9 collections a year. You don't need to produce the same bag 9 times every year in every collection. Produce it once a year. Make it very limited. Make it affordable but limited, and you know. And that's also a way to push covetability. Also, that's a great way to maintain the quality of your bags because you're overproducing, Chanel. And we've seen, as of late, a lot of issues. People have a lot of issues with your bags, and yet you demand exorbitant prices for them. So my addiction to Chanel bags is limited also to the moral. It's like directly proportionate to the amount of moral that they put into the decisions that they make, how they want to price these bags, right? My addiction ends there. Or as President Truman say, the buck stops here. Yeah, the Chanel bag stops here. Timeless classics, reissues, double flaps, those are done for me. I mean, thank God I have them, so I don't need to kind of crave them and with the new prices that they have. But I do still, thanks also maybe to the fact that these prices are exorbitant, now I have the chance to dive into the secret aspects of Chanel, those secret bags that are usually invisible that people don't really know about, the bags that don't go up in price every season like the Timeless Classic does. And looky, all of a sudden there's this whole underbelly, which usually is in a negative context. In this case, it's in a positive context. The underbelly of all that superficiality that Chanel has kind of, I think they also did it themselves. They shot themselves in the foot by making only a couple of bags so desirable. So you don't see past those bags. You don't see past the Timeless Classic anymore or past the rectangular mini because you're bombarded with that. Like that is what Chanel is. Or now the newly launched 19 bag or the Coco handle. Like those are the ones you don't look past. But if you manage to push those aside, there's this wonderful hidden world behind there of bags that are not for Chanel standards, that are not overpriced, that are gorgeous, that have so much brand heritage in them. It's just that, unfortunately, you're rewired to think, well, it's not a good investment. If I resell it, it's going to lose its value. I won't be able to get my money back. I'm like, and again, I always say this, guys, if that's the reason why you're buying a bag, don't buy it. The best investment you can make is to not spend your money on a bag. That's the you want an investment? Don't spend it on a bag. Put your money into bonds, stocks, for something else. Don't buy a bag. But if you're going to tell me you're going to get the bag because it's a good investment, boo, we got nothing to talk about no more. Because that's wrong. And so you push away those investment bags, push them aside, and what you find behind there is the actual labor and creativity. Because it doesn't take much creativity anymore for the Chanel designer teams. What are you going to do? The Timeless Classic is the shape it has. You can there's just so many variations of color and textile that you can use for those frickin' bags, and then you're done. You can't experiment with shapes and sizes. You can only experiment with the seasonal pieces. And if you're lucky to know what to look for within the seasonal pieces, you can find treasures for Chanel standards, affordable prices. And I'm concluding by saying this. To me, my addiction continues with Chanel bags. When I said ain't buying no more new Chanel bags, I meant those that have outpriced themselves. But my addiction continues because of the constant discovery of these new redefinitions, reiterations, reinventions of the Chanel DNA language, stylistic language, where the creative teams are really given the freedom to express themselves, and that would be within the seasonal pieces, because that's where they can go creative. They can't go creative on the Timeless Classic. It's a done deal. The Timeless Classic is not allowed to change. But all the seasonal ones, that's where the creativity is, and that's what I'm hooked on. And so if it wasn't for the creative genius of the seasonal pieces, we would have never gotten this 255 clutch, which, oh my God, finally, no chain. I can squish it and hug it and call it mine.
Squishy pillow.
Anyway, sorry, Laura, I'm blabbering on. You take over.
Well, no, I was again nodding and agreeing with you. I really don't. It doesn't resonate with me when people call bags an investment. It doesn't make any business sense if you want to talk about investments to put it in a bag.
Yeah.
A bag is a bag. We discussed why we buy these bags already. They're not an investment. In my case, in particular, we talked about this before as well. I want to think that when I'm not here anymore, my daughter will enjoy these things and she will find a little bit of me in those things.
A lot of you.
Sorry.
A lot of you. She's like, a little bit of things in me. Here, honey, my 50 bags. Mama gonna leave you a little bit of herself.
True that. Okay, well, she will find me in the items, in the perhaps think of me when she's wearing them, or find some. I don't know. It's so nice to think of somebody you loved through something that was them, honestly them. You know, that this was my mom.
Yeah.
She wore this perfume, she wore these clothes, and this was her. She wasn't buying every brand to keep up. She wasn't showing off. She wasn't into trends. This was my mom's style. Or if I didn't have Morella, perhaps I would leave it to another family member, but that person will be able to remember me, and that was truly me. And again, I go super deep on these things.
But it's good. But these are confessions of CHANELOHOLICs. That's what we do. It is
a confession. It is a confession. I like a classic bag. I love the rectangulars. But funnily enough, I don't have classic double flaps in every color. And I was thinking the other day, looking on Instagram, there's so many posts with people that have 10 classic flaps in 10 different colors. And I was thinking, how strange. I was never driven to buy the same bag. The mini rectangulars, perhaps, but they're all quite different from one another. But again, I do like seasonal pieces as well. I do like seasonal bags, like you. So I think that's where I start at the moment. And also finding forgotten treasure.
Ooh,
I did the other day.
Yeah, that really orgasm. Chanel-gasm. Chanel-gasm.
I was standing there looking at my finding, saying to myself, I cannot believe you had this in the bag and you're giving it to me. This is amazing.
And this is, and you know what's so funny? Like you and I, we love to do this, but a lot of those bitch influencers out there are going to be like, ew, this pouch is from a season ago? No, that's too old.
Yeah, well, I was told that to my face a few years ago. That's old. I don't buy it last season. I think that is immature, that lacks depth, is missing the bigger picture. I don't buy things because they're this season and to wear today and then sell them on to buy the next thing. This is how we have been trained to behave. We have been trained not to need, but to desire a new thing before the old one has been totally consumed.
Yeah.
And I like new things as much as the next person, but I refuse to let go of my early 90s Chanel jacket because it's from the 90s. I think it has as much value as any other jacket that I might buy in the future. I don't think things that are timeless, classic, and elegant have an expiry date.
Yeah.
I think that is lack of style, actually. I think that is lack of, of personal style. Because if you're confident and you have developed your personal style over a period of time, you don't care if it's from 20 years ago or if it was my mom's.
No.
I have a shirt, I'm going to confess, I have a shirt that I wear that was my mom's from the early 80s, and it's so it's a mixture between Isabel Marant and Vivienne Westwood, and I wear it now and people think I bought it the other day, and it's my mom's from the 80s.
Once you're I'm telling you, and that's why I always say, guys, fashion is not sustainable, only style is sustainable. And it's sustainable because at the core or the root of the word we're looking at here is to sustain. Style sustains itself. It remains through time still, and it doesn't corrode. You know, it's a quality thing that remains intact forever, as long as the shirt doesn't fall apart and break. Stylistically speaking, it sustains itself within style. That's why style is sustainable. It doesn't lose its luster and allure just because it's 10 years old. It might even gain some because the style lives within it. And that is very, very important when I think that's the biggest distinction that Laura and I are making between how we perceive fashion, and in this case Chanel, and how other people, not everybody, but most other people, you know, who are following the influencers and always on the trend, jumping on the newest thing. And let me tell you, I mean, Apple does it by breaking their old products. You know, like my iPad is now dying because it's, you know, 4 or 5 years old. So the iOS is built that way that it starts killing the product. So you have to buy a new one. My MacBook Pro is dying because they made the battery that way that it starts blowing up after a couple of years. So they kill it off. You gotta buy a new one. Chanel's way of doing the Apple shtick is by always delivering the new product. So they're gonna give us 50,000 different iterations of the mini rectangular. Every season it's a tweed and it's a gold and it's a, you know, then it's a mermaid, this and that. And that's Chanel's way also of kind of making you have to buy it. There's also that aspect. What's it called? Fear of missing out, the Fomo effect.
And also, corporations changed the way we think about objects. Like you're talking about Apple in particular, because otherwise they don't sell the newest version of the item. So, in order to keep us hooked, they have to make the other one obsolete. And we moved on to the new one. And I want the latest phone. And I want it because they're telling me that it's better. They are doing this to us, these big corporations. I mean, we were talking about shopping malls. Shopping malls were funded by banks originally.
Shopping
malls.
Yeah, the malls.
Yeah. So it is so interlinked because it keeps the economy, this kind of economy, going. Without this kind of spending and thinking about goods, what's going to happen? So the topic is very deep and is very big as well. We could talk about so many different permutations of this. But I, like you said as well, the more I buy quality items, the fewer high street things that I buy. Like, you know, the other day I was in London and when I talk about these things, I want it to be very clear that I realize how lucky I am to be able to do these things. I'm not blind to the rest of the world and that there's other realities. And I'm very, blessed to be able, or I use that word that I hate, but I'm very blessed to be able to do
blessed.
These things. Hashtag blessed. But I was in London, I went to Chanel, I did what I had to do, and then I was thinking, I'm going to go around and look at the shops, and you know what? I didn't, because what else can I go and look at? What else is there for me to look at in the high street, or what else do I need? I mean, after I've had that experience and I got what I wanted, what more is there's nothing else. But we've been sort of programmed what else can I do? I'm going to go to the shop. I'm going to go to that shop. I'm going to do. It's like our spare time revolves around going to the shops, and I think that in a way, this time that we spend in isolation has been great to remind us that there's a whole other world out there that we can enjoy without shopping to the level that we used to before. So I just spend the day walking around and loving just walking around and looking at people and having a coffee, and didn't spend any more money than what I had to.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I'm the same. I have my one target. I go there, and and then I don't need anything else really. I'm also so satisfied and content
as well.
Yeah,
I had a wonderful experience at the boutique. I'm very, in London, they're very, very nice. And I was happy, and I walked out of there in a cloud of happiness, and that was good enough for me. I mean, but again, I am very conscious that there's a different reality, and I'm very grateful that I can do these things.
And in conclusion, and then we're going to open it up to the chats a little bit because we're over an hour already. And my camera keeps unfocusing me. For the love of me, I don't know why. Maybe I should stay in the center. But then I'm covering you. In conclusion, why are you then addicted to Chanel bags? In one sentence.
In one sentence?
Yeah. What's our conclusion? How can we sum it up?
Okay, I like them because they are constant symbol of elegance for me. I know that different people wear them in different ways, and sometimes, sometimes they can be tacky and whatever. But for me, is especially a 255, an understated symbol of elegance, and also represents Coco Chanel creating these bags for us. So, we could be hands-free. It's a symbol of emancipation and the liberation of women as well. There's so many things packed in my little bag.
That is nice.
My little 255.
Oh, that's so cool. Love it. That's a good one. Yeah. I guess my addiction, also so hard to put it in a sentence, but definitely, I think I already said it before. It's Chanel bags, addiction to Chanel bags. It's that constant duality between the stripped dryness of Coco and that kind of Catholic opulence, poppy opulence of Carl, and me being so dual as well, and constantly I'm vibrating together with those bags, with their aesthetic constantly, and I always feel like I'm getting so close to understanding it, but it always evades me slightly. Just slightly, and because it keeps evading me, it keeps me hooked, because it keeps me guessing, and it keeps me wanting more.
I think the comparison that you made with Catholicism and Christianity
and Protestants,
Protestantism is perfect. There's also a duality living alongside within Catholicism, which you have the nuns who are stripped of everything, and then we walk into church every Friday with a very strong and opulent imagery all around us in the church. So, you have us standing there with our grey uniforms, very clean, very starchy. The nuns in grey with just the chain around them with the rosary beads, and then all around a very, very strong, vivid imagery of Catholicism. So I can really visualize what you're saying, and I love it.
And the opulence of their rosaries made out of pearls and beads, and the woods of the churches and the frescoes and the incense that the smoke and those smells. I mean, they're so rich.
Yes, and the nun's outfit compared to the priest when he's all dressed with his special.
When he looks like a drag queen. Say it as it is. Yeah, when the priest comes out dressed as RuPaul, as opposed to the nuns that are somber and like stripped down of everything.
in that purple, sometimes, cloak that they wear, which is super opulent. If we think about the history of the color purple, it was a very expensive color to make. And the priest is dressed in that compared to the nuns, a lot of us in gray. I mean, the contrast is very, very clear.
Very clear, but just like Chanel also said, Coco said, always in the animal kingdom, it's the same. The female peacock is the nun. The male peacock is all with the feather. He's like more the priest. The female lion doesn't have all that kind of, crown around her head. She's more toned down. The male lion is all about the opulence. So the same is reflected in the church at the end of the day. Little Catholic church. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my God, we got deep in here. Let's go to the comments. What do we got in the comments? Oh my God, we got a lot of comments.
We do.
I don't know where to begin.
I'm just going scrolling.
Oh, here says French Riviera Lux says Chanel is timeless. Then we got amen to what? I don't know. Amen to that. I guess what we were talking about. Red Frag says influencers don't seem to care about quality. When I was in my 20s, the only way I could wear Yves Saint Laurent was buying a Vogue pattern and making it for myself. Hidden buttonholes, welt pockets. Once you try to make it yourself, you start to appreciate well-made items. Lord Charfield says true, but it is acknowledged by people like Ugo Giacometti, I think, that style develops from generation to generation. It evolves. Style can evolve, of course. Yeah.
That's quite interesting because I remember how my mom used to dress and different family members. So I think that is true.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it evolves. We take from our parents and then we build on top of that.
Yeah.
MK says, Dacob, I'm such a nerd. I like to hold my 255 clutch case. Whenever I see you holding your 255 pouch, we are definitely the 255 bros. Oh, so cute. We all hug our bags at the same time while we're talking. Daniel says, if you want to invest money, put it into reducing your mortgage or keep it in the bank. Bags are not an investment. They are fun. And they should stay fun. French Riviera Lux loves this clutch. Says the clutch, oh my God, is a masterpiece. This clutch, you guys, I think it's still available in some boutiques because it is from a couple of seasons ago. So, and still affordable for Chanel standards. MK says, by the way, thanks, Dacob, for sharing all those hidden Chanel cheapies. Chanel standard cheapies. I don't have to source them myself now. I just have to tune in the fashion bunker. You are definitely a pusher. The Chanel bag pusher. Ghosted says everyone is allowed to love what they and who they love. No judgment on any particular piece, or there shouldn't be. I agree. There should not be any judgment. Kira says price doesn't always equate to quality in today's world. The old get what you pay for motto is long gone. French Riviera Lux says, you guys, why you don't like the 19 bag?
Where do we start?
Where do we start? I mean, you can watch my video. I made a video on it, so that's my answer. Me roasting the Chanel 19 bag. And Laura has her reasons, which are similar, I think.
Yeah, I'm still undecided. I'm not saying never, but it's the chain. That chain there. I mean, and I have a trapezio, which is quite similar anyway, from the Paris-Rome collection, so...
Yeah, but that chain, for me, it's so tacky. It's so vulgar. Yeah. It's very vulgar. Yeah. It's vulgar. It's not...
a bit disjointed, I don't know.
Yeah, that chain. And I hate the fact that it's sewn in on the top of the flap. That sewn-in bit of leather to which the chain is attached at the top of the flap. Oh, my God. I can't. Yeah, Aisha says, yes, the 8 collections a year is ridiculous, can't keep up. It's more than 8. It's actually around 10. Holy Grace says, I agree, the price is ridiculous. I have removed the Chanel 19 bag from my wish list. Then we got, are Chanel workers paid fairly, says Happy Days. In the boutiques, yes. Yes, definitely. Holy Grace, if you want quality, buy from fashion houses that specialize in that item. For example, not a wise purchase to buy a watch from Gucci. Buy once and buy good, says Drac. MK says, Dacob, some of my Chanel cotton tops also tend to look quite sad after a few washes. Huh. How do you wash them, though? By hand or in the machine? Because, I mean, just because these things are expensive doesn't mean that you could treat them just like throw them in the wash. Some things you gotta wash by hand, and that's okay, too. I don't mind. I avoid fast fashion as much as humanly possible, says Daniel. Holy Grace says, I agree. The luxury items I bought when I was 18, I still love. I'm starting to get so sick of the turnover in the Lux YouTube community, constantly thinking of resale value. Yeah, it's really annoying, and it just sours up a whole video. When I see, a new unboxing and I click on the video to watch it, and then the second sentence they say, well, the first thing that really irritates me is when they blabber on for 2 minutes and then they say, without further ado, without further ado, let's get into the video. I just, my nipple barfs. And then after that, when they go into that, and it's like such a good investment, Pete, I'm like, okay, 2 strikes, you're out. And I can't watch anymore. You tap into the magic of objects, Dacob, says Drac. Thank you. French Riviera Lux, I fell in love with Chanel when I was 10 to 12 years old through the magazines. I did too, and Laura did too. Yeah. And this is so fascinating. And to me, why did Chanel, and I said this many moons ago in another one of my videos, why Chanel speaks to me so much is because through the magazines, they're the only ones who had those incredible advertisements with the white frame, the black line, the beautiful, simple Chanel spelled out in that beautiful font. Black on the white background, and then the actual photo with the model is always framed in black again. Oh my God. It's not even the clothes that were on the photo. It was the actual all around it that made me fall in love with Chanel. It was the whole presentation. It's how they decide to present themselves, how they frame their products and their advertisements. It's that attention to detail that made me fall in love with Chanel. And then after that, the actual objects. But isn't that fascinating? I already loved that logo before I even started loving the clothes and the bags.
It's so simple and so powerful. I think there's such power in simplicity.
Yeah. Mikey says, men objectify everything, even a woman on the street. Interesting thoughts, Laura. Oh, that's when you were saying about the objectifying about 40 minutes ago. And French Riviera Lux says, yes, Laura, also agrees with you. Roja says, wasn't it in a video of you, Dacob, where you quoted a lady who worked for Coco who pointed out that the color aspect Carl brought in was also very like a Clash? Oh, geez, I don't remember which video I said that. If you remember what video I said that, and let me know, because I have to rewind and remember the context of the entire video, because as you know, when I start going on my monologues, I kind of have this huge train thought, and then I say one part of that train thought, and if you just give me that segment, I need it reconnected to the whole piece to understand exactly what the conversation was about. Oh, okay. So Jesus asks if Laura is holding a Lisa Eldridge lipstick in the photo. No, I think it's a Chanel.
No, always Chanel. Always Chanel.
Yeah.
If I'm holding something, it's always going to be Chanel.
If I'm holding something, it's always going to be Chanel. That had meaning.
Well, at least I tried to.
Yeah. Carl set up the house to make money, says Holy Grace. I mean, he didn't just set it up to make money. He had also a very clear aesthetical vision, you guys. Let's not underestimate what he did. Sure, he managed to, like every good design, well, more like a stylist than designer, he nailed the nerve of the time. He really was capable to tapping into the nerve of the time, and he delivered what the times needed. That's his genius. Now, the CEOs of Chanel profited off of that. Carl didn't decide the prices of the bags. He had nothing to do with that. That's a whole other team deciding how much the shit is going to cost. He's there to churn out the designs, and then somebody else prices them. He was very clever because he felt connected to the times in the right way, and he delivered something the people wanted. And then Chanel CEOs were clever, even more clever, and were like, oh, people really want this? Oh, let's double the price. And that's what happened. Or tripled or quadrupled, but now I can't even how many, I don't even know math that well to say the word. Septified, like sevenfold up to the price. Septified, sounded like a transformer. Yeah. I'd be afraid
Sounds
to,
like a great number.
right? I'd be afraid to own a Chanel bag, says Kira. I mean, the first Chanel bag is always a little bit painful because you're like, oh, babying it like crazy. But then with time, you get used, you realize that actually you don't need to baby it as much. You need to, the real pleasure of having that Chanel bag is interacting with it and using it, whether it be like I love to use it at home a lot more than outdoors, or whether you want to use it outdoors, but just using it, having that tactile experience with it, smelling it. It's a beautiful object, you guys. It's not just practical to put stuff in it. You could put stuff in any bag, but it's so much more than just that. Well, okay, MK says, wow, Laura looks like Ines de la Fressange or Carole Bouquet from version 2.0.
I wish.
The updated version, the evolution. Happy Day says, amazing. The jacket and lip are beautiful together, says Mr. Blue, for your photo, Laura. Candy Fluff says, she's a stunning woman.
Thank you, guys.
Lux Comfortable says, Laura looks gorgeous as always.
I'm blushing.
Aisha says that you look stunning. And Daniel says, I am spared from having a Chanel addiction because they cost so much. Lately, however, I have been noticing some older, less expensive ones on eBay, and it is a worry. But Daniel, you are a little bit hooked on Chanel perfumes, though. Mimi Bell says that is deep, Laura, at the beginning of our conversation, but I totally understand. Holy Grace says it is an interesting reflection. Hold on, now I missed it. Oh, it's gone. Holy Grace. The comment is gone, but don't worry about it. It's good. It's as if I read it. What would you rather for a first purchase, says JRB? An older flap with 24K or new from boutique? Let me just stop you right there. Even the new, look, this is 2018, you guys, 2019. This is 24 karat gold plated. And of course, it's not going to freaking focus because I don't know what the camera, I guess I got to be in the center to have it. So it's not like Chanel stopped doing gold plating. They're still doing gold plating. It's a decision that they made. Even the current versions of the Timeless Classic, yeah, it's not going to be 24 karat gold plated because it's a very yellow gold that they usually don't go for. They went for it for the Egyptian collection because it made sense, but they tone it down because they think it's more aesthetical that way. But they're still using gold. Whether it be, I don't know, 11, 8 karat, or the things that they call beige gold, but still, there's still a little bit of gold in there. And it's not just because they want to cheap out. They're cheaping out on other things. Trust me. This was a very clear aesthetical choice, which, however, I'm seeing them kind of going back to that old school yellow gold more and more. So who's to say? Sooner than later, we might be seeing, again, really chunky yellow gold hardware on the Timeless Classics. Never say never. However, to answer your question, I still prefer to buy from the boutique new rather than the old flap. What do you say, Laura?
I like buying new from the boutique.
Me too.
My friend who sells vintage is going to hate me for this. I would like to, but the bag that I painted was a vintage bag, and I'm very happy with it, and it was a great thing to do. But I prefer buying from the boutique. It's the whole experience.
Yeah.
For me, it's the whole experience of going there, seeing everything, the smell when you walk in. I mean, it's everything. It's magical. It's our Disneyland.
It's our Disneyland.
Exactly.
All right, guys.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for tuning in. This was a wonderful talk. Again, I had with Laura. Laura, thank you so much for...
thank you, guys.
For always having these crazy conversations with me in the fashion bunker. What can I say? Laura, thank you so much. I hope to talk with you again super soon. Laura is usually very busy on Saturdays, so I'm so happy when she does get a moment to tune in and talk to us on a Saturday. So thank you so much for that.
I'm always here for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you. And thank you for sharing all your expertise and your knowledge with us all in the Fashion Bunker. And thank you guys also for tuning in. If you like this video, thumb it up and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to follow Laura on her Instagram profile, TheCCspy, TheCCspy, all spelled together. I'm going to post the link to her Instagram profile in the description box underneath this video. And you can also follow me on Instagram, superdacob, all spelled together, or Coco Chanel is in my house, my other Instagram profile, or the third one, Coco Chanel Privé. You can subscribe to my channel or push the join button, become a member today, gain access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon, superdacob, all spelled together, on Patreon as well. Join me there to gain access to extra perks, such as videos that are exclusive only to Patreon and don't come to YouTube. Or your name listed here at the end of every video as a co-producer of the Fashion Bunker in the end credits, or the end credit roll. Just like every good Hollywood movie, we have our credits as well. Laura, any final words for us today? Oh, Laura, you're there. Okay, I thought you hung up.
I'm here. I'm thinking really deep about everything. Again, I would say to people to buy things that truly resonate with them. When you make a purchase, it has to represent who you really and truly are. Not buy into trends, buy into style.
That's a good one. I would say the same thing. Always feel what it is that you want and what it is that you need. And the most important thing of all is understanding the difference between what you want and what you need. Those are two different things, guys. And we tend to blend the two into one kind of mushy mass, but they are two very distinct things. What it is you want and what it is you need. Until next time, never forget to never give up on love. Love you all. See you soon. Take care. Bye. Mwah.